Zuckerberg, BFFs.
Thumbs up.
So what implication, because you're at the table, what implication does it have, what influence does that mean when you're at the table of one of the biggest companies in the world?
No, thanks, Will. It's something that I take very seriously. When I started at Meta, Facebook, back in 2014 or so, I think I was the first black person in network engineering. At the time, the company was around 9,000 or 10,000 people. I think we're about 80,000 people now, but it was intimidating to be the only black employee in a very technical engineering group. So for me, we like to talk about the concept of black excellence. For me, that was non-negotiable because I knew I had to kind of carry a torch and really do well in order to go out and hire more black people, because I felt like if I messed up, I might ruin the opportunity to open doors for other people that look like me. So I was very intentional about working with our recruiting teams, creating new business resource groups such as kind of Black Men Ed that I co-founded with some of my co-workers, our first black engineering group, so that we can not only retain existing employees, but figure out how do we kind of go out in the market and get more people to look like us. So it's something that's always been very important to me. I think the culture at Meta, for me, has always been one that's very kind of open and kind of collaborative. And I think from everything we do from a product perspective to how we think about just building in general has always been, focused on people first. So if you think about what we're doing from an AI perspective, you hear people talk about this concept of kind of open source. And open source means that, from an AI perspective, everything that we do is collaborative, it's transparent, it involves the community kind of building to enhance the overall kind of products. Very different from, some of our competitors who I won't, take shots at, but they're closed ecosystems. And what happens when they're closed ecosystems is that it creates inequities in the market, right? You have these gatekeepers to access information and kind of technology. That's where the inequities begin to get created. So, for us, we think about how do we kind of enhance the overall community, how do we bring more access and resources to everyone, and especially from a demographic perspective, right? It's important for us to be early adopters and have these access to technology and tools and be able to use them.
Yeah, and Vincent, I think about typically when people are giving advice on what startup to build, but you're building a search engine, you're going after Google, you're building a search engine, particularly to help business owners. What gap in the market did you see when you decided to take on some of the biggest companies in the world?
Yeah, so that was true. I think when we approached our marketing company and I told them that we have a product that will compete with Google, they kind of laughed. And after a 45-minute conversation, they said that they've been in business for 20 years, and it's the first time that the statement is true. So the thing is, though, we saw a need. We saw a need for businesses to have the resources when they want to come to market. It's for small businesses, they usually have a lack of technology that helps them to compete with the more established companies. So let's say, for example, a mom and pop shop, they're not gonna have online ordering service because it's just something that they would have to pay a lot for. So we didn't just want to create a search engine, we wanted to create an environment where business owners can, once they register their business on the search engine, they'll have the tools and resources available to them to be able to help their business to grow and compete with those established companies. But the need was providing the resources and helping the consumers as well, because consumers are also one of our main customers. The consumer side, we wanted to help them to protect their privacy and also give them a single space to do all their business. So, but that's it.
So how do you balance, because in my view, like most search engines are built to help the consumer, make it easy for the consumer to find some businesses, accelerate businesses. And you had a quote that I love, and you said, you use that to help invest in the world's best companies. What does the world's best company mean when you're talking about a startup?
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, when you're looking for when you're looking for a startup, there's a lot of ways in how you're looking at investments. One is that looking for a market, and even before you're looking for a market, it's really like we're looking to invest in your secret, which means that what is the thing that you know better than anybody else in the entire world? And how have you earned that secret in order for that to happen? Like a great example is like Airbnb. Like the CEO was, in RISD, which is Rhode Island's School of Design. There was a conference that was happening, and there was no more hotels. Everything was sold out. And they said, well, maybe like we could make a little bit of money. We're 2 college students if we put air mattresses in our bed, in our room, and then sold it on Craigslist. That was the start of Airbnb. That sounded like a crazy idea, but that was something that they knew that nobody else knew. And so when we were looking for an investment, one of the things, I think that this is important because I saw a ton of people that have their hand raised as entrepreneurs. We call it an idea maze. And so basically, how has your entire life journey literally gotten you to this point where you're building this company that's going to be your life's purpose? And so oftentimes, these are good ideas that sound like bad ideas. These are companies that sound like they're crazy. Like, who would have thought it was a good idea to sit in a stranger's car? And, raise your hand if you took an Uber or a Lyft to get here today, right? And so they completely transformed the entire transportation industry. But that was a secret that they knew that nobody else knew. And it also sounded like a crazy idea at the time. And so often when we're looking at the best companies, they often sound like toys, or they, my colleague Chris Dixon, he says, some of the best companies are often built on the weekend because you're just doing it with passion and you're doing it with joy. And you don't realize that and people will often overlook at them as toys. When Facebook was first created, people were like, well, what is this? Why would you just want to have a Harvard social connection? And now it literally controls pretty much all of the top 10 apps in the App Store.
Shout out to Aaron right here.
Don't say that, it might be regulated.
But you said a couple things there, and I want to bring this up, and I'll toss this out to you, Aaron, too. Like you mentioned,